Are you tired of brands marketing at you like you're a computer, not a human? We believe there's more to this business than worshiping at the feet of the algorithm. We're three marketers, Matt Banker, Paige Worthy, and David Hepburn. Marketing can be empathetic, ethical, and effective all at once. I am a fighter! This is Hello First Name, a marketing podcast for thinking, feeling humans.
Hello and welcome to Hello First Name, the marketing podcast for thinking, feeling humans. Before we get started, you can find all of our episodes, including YouTube recordings, as well as a way to subscribe for email updates on the show on our website. The URL is hellofirstnamepod.com. My name is Paige Worthy. I am a StoryBrand certified guide and radically empathetic marketing consultant. I work with businesses owned by people who give a shit and specialize in marketing strategy, brand messaging, voice and tone, and copy.
Hey, I'm David Hepburn. I am the Chief Creative Officer at Hepburn Creative Inc. We are a video production company based in San Diego, California, that works with businesses and nonprofits all over the world to create high-end videos to help them do their mission, which we believe every company and nonprofit should be changing the world.
And I'm Matt Banker. I have a company that does StoryBrand websites called Banker Creative, and another company called Benchmark Growth Marketing that does marketing for accounting firms. So nice, narrow.
So sexy. So why are we here? My gentleman co-hosts and I all believe that marketing can be empathetic, ethical, and effective all at the same time. And every week we focus on a specific topic that helps us get back to that aim. So today we are taking a deep dive into dark social, a topic that is way less seedy and way less related to Lord of the Rings than any of us would like. And that deep dive is going to be led by none other than Matt Banker, the king of dark social. And I'm going to be doing the devil's advocate style grilling because Matt has endured some gentle ribbing from me related to dark social on LinkedIn and in our private conversations. But it's an idea that I'm coming around to. So Matt, to start us off, can you break down what dark social actually means?
Yeah, well, first I'll say I'm not the king of dark social. It's not my term. There's a guy on LinkedIn named Chris Walker who's really been talking about this a lot. He's with a company called Refine Labs and has a really, I think, interesting insight into this idea of dark social. Essentially, dark means it's channels and places where we can't, as marketers, track attribution and analytics. And social is there's a community or a social aspect. Sometimes that's one to many. Honestly, podcasts are a great example of dark social. We can't say so and so listened to a podcast and then they went to our website and then booked a call. So it can be one to many, or it can be one to one. So if I go to a Slack channel and I send Paige a message and say, "Hey, who do you use for your bookkeeping software?" That's another example.
And I have those conversations all the time.
Software, but. Yeah. And actually, I think the thing that's important to know is that everybody is having those conversations. And there's been a change in the way, maybe not a change, an acceleration in the way that people are using these dark social channels, because we really have more access to our peers. So people who have similar job titles or jobs in general, we have access to them through these places that marketers can't intrude on. So no marketer can put ads in this private Slack channel, which is really great. And when there are people who are promoting themselves in those channels, we all hate them. We want to get rid of them because it feels like, you want this peer-to-peer space. And those have been developing during the pandemic, especially. We used to have more in-person connections. Now, so many of our connections are through digital means, and we're not really going backwards and getting rid of those. We're just continuing to use them even as things change again.
Do you think that part of the maybe the rise in dark social came not just out of, hey, we're going remote, we're spending a ton more time on our computers, but people just really craving connection and preferring to have conversations with people rather than just like sending Google searches out into the ether. Like, do you think that played a part?
Yeah, I think the thing that happened is we went through a time when the internet had a lot of information, and it was a useful venue to go and look for stuff. But we didn't ever trust searches as much as we trusted our friends. We just didn't have access to enough of our friends who knew enough about what we needed. So like I have a lot of people in my life who don't know anything about marketing. And so I can't go to my Facebook feed and ask about advice, but now I have tons of access to people who know a lot about the things that I'm doing for my job. And this is especially true in the B2B marketing space, probably more than in like B2C. That's business to business marketing and business to consumer marketing. Try not to use too many acronyms here. And so there is a desire for that connection, but ultimately I think it has a lot to do with the way that we're actually wired as humans. We want to have advice from people that we trust more than Google searches, even review sites. I think a lot of things just implicitly, we kind of know that people are gaming reviews. We don't know which ones are true and which ones aren't, but there's this underlying feeling of like, I can't actually trust the Amazon reviews. I don't know who's just invested in really great SEO to get to the top of these listings versus who actually has a good product. And so we rely on people that we know or that we have a connection to.
Or who said, here, we'll give you the product if you review it, or we'll give you a $5 gift card if you review it.
So there were some businesses that will be super transparent about the fact that like, hey, we sent this person a free product, or like I got incentivized for writing a review, but most don't.
And I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with sending someone a product or a service and saying, hey, would you review this? I think to Matt's point, you want in our like closer relationships in life, there's an expected transparency within that of authenticity that, at least in my life, I surround myself, or I try to surround myself with those people who are authentic, because that's what all of us hope for to have in our lives. I feel like we're wired that way. And so, there's nothing inherently wrong with that model, but it's the transparency and the expected authenticity that when we are deceived, or when we are tricked into believing something, that's where we've all gotten a lot more skeptical. And I know for me now, it's less about reviews. Now I've heard the advice, throw out the 1-star and the 5-star reviews. Just throw them out.
Got it.
And you're looking
right
for
the middle.
2, 3, 4. And the other thing that I look for now, especially when like shopping online, is I look for number of reviews, because it doesn't matter to me if a company has 4 or 5 stars on a product, if like 23 people have reviewed it. I'm looking for the ones that have like 23,000, because I know that at least that product is popular enough to be ordered that many times. And then hopefully the ratio of how it bears out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars reflects more accurately what I can trust.
On top of that, you'll trust one person's recommendation from the community that more than 5 reviews of 4 stars on any site still, right? Yeah.
So Matt, if this is so prevalent in the way that we as consumers are getting our information, building trust with products and services, why aren't we talking about it more in marketing?
So, there's another party that's involved here. It's not just you and your community. It's the marketing tech that we use. So a lot of companies have built their business model around serving ads to people or giving us better analytics around what kind of marketing efforts. It's a huge industry in the marketing world. And the problem is there's just actual limits to what marketing tech can do and what it can track. But all of those companies have incentives built in. It's just money, basically, to serve us the information that they can serve us, and then convince us that that is those are the metrics that we should really be paying attention to. So, whether it's Google that wants to get you to invest in SEO or SEM services, or Facebook or LinkedIn want you to be spending money on ads. An example of this is, Facebook, social media, LinkedIn platforms, they get money by ads, and they get more money the more ads that they show to people. And so they've been incentivized to convince us that shorter videos are better, for example, because they want you to keep scrolling. They don't want you to stay around and look. And so Facebook has decided that 3 seconds is a view, right? And so you create videos that get 3-second views, and they tell you that that's working and that's really great. But it's not really necessarily the thing that's actually working it. And so we're so bought into a system where we want to be able to directly attribute revenue to things that we can track. And the problem is, what typically actually happens now is that you have to rely on multi-touch, right? People have to be exposed to a brand or an idea multiple times before they're ready to buy.
But like 11, I think, is a number that I've heard before.
Yeah, and so
which is a lot.
11 is a lot of times. If you're a marketer and you're trying to get in front of someone 11 times before they're ready to buy, that's a lot of investment. It can't all be paid. That's one challenge for a lot of these companies, partially because we don't trust. It can't be the same ad. And so I think maybe one way to flesh this out is just thinking through what an actual buyer journey looks like a lot of times. So what might happen is, say, like, Paige, you post something on LinkedIn and someone sees it. You're talking about copywriting. Someone who's not a customer of yours but is a friend likes it. And then someone that they know sees that their friend liked that post and thought, oh, this is really great. And so they bring it to their private company Slack channel.
Yes, I'm going viral.
They share a screenshot. Awesome. She's going viral in the private company Slack channel. The VP of marketing sees it, finds out that we have a podcast, listens to the podcast, and thinks it's really smart. And so then
now they want to work with David.
And so then they go to Google and they type in, they realize we need a video. And so they type in, Hepburn Creative, and they land on your website, they fill out a form. And if you look at your marketing software, it's going to say Google search was how they found you. And so if you look at that
say
as the metric,
it is organic, I guess.
Yeah.
But different organic.
Right. And they're going to, and David, if he was relying on that, might think, I guess I need to invest more in SEO and SEM to get more Google search. Google is a very greedy channel. It wants to take credit for everything. And so that's why you see tons of marketing budget going to that. You wouldn't think, I should spend more money on creating good content organic on LinkedIn or a great podcast, because those are metrics we can't track. So it's really, the key thing here is it's really important, I think, to have one eye on your ultimate goal, which is usually something like revenue or maybe booked calls through your website with qualified customers, and then comparing that to your overall marketing budget. It all has to be inclusive. And the good news is that it means you spend more time going with your gut and thinking about, is this good content? And less time thinking like, does the orange button or the blue button lead to higher conversion rates? Because that kind of stuff often doesn't matter as much as some of this other stuff that we're doing before we get to the dark social side of things.
You're not saying that paid social, Google ads, things like that are something that we should abandon entirely, right?
No, I don't think so. But I do think it shouldn't be the only piece of the marketing mix. The way I'm really thinking about it these days is that you have demand capture and you have demand creation. And these are two different things that you need to be investing in, right? So demand capture, someone has some sort of intent. They already know they have a problem. They know a solution exists and they're going out to look for that solution. And so a lot of the ads, a lot of direct marketing is that. If you show up one time in someone's feed with an ad and they click on it and buy, that is a person who has already been warmed up, primed, has enough knowledge that they're just waiting for the right solution to come along, or they're going to Google and they're looking at it. And to be honest, this is an area where I think I have some disagreement with how StoryBrand and Don talks about marketing versus branding. I think a lot of times there was a conversation among some StoryBrand guides recently about a video. I think it's like 3 years old at this point, but it was about how companies who are under 50 million shouldn't be investing in branding. They should just be investing in marketing. And the terminology was a little fuzzy there, but essentially what he was saying is you should be doing direct advertising. You should be trying to like get people to click, to download, to buy things. It's very like call to action oriented. And I think that that's true to an extent, but that's all demand capture. Like you're not creating demand if you're just trying to get them to take an action.
Right.
That other section is like you need to move people who are unaware of the problem or unaware that there's a solution into a buying cycle. Yeah. And that's creating demand. And that's what happens in dark social, when you're creating helpful, useful information that people can share that they find actually solves their problem without hiring you. That's the stuff that starts to get legs in these other channels.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're not thinking about demand creation, you're missing out on a huge potential audience and potential buying pool. Absolutely. Because you're cutting out anyone but the folks who already know I have this problem. I pretty much know what my solution is, and now I'm thinking about, okay, who do I hire for this?
Yeah, 100%.
I can imagine quite a bit of pushback from marketers, whether they're within an agency setting, freelancing, inside, on the client side. Maybe they'll be worried that they won't be able to show their clients, their bosses, et cetera, that their efforts are worth the investment. Because they've been relying on these, you talk about vanity metrics a lot. How do you counter that? What kind of education can we offer as the three of us, or can they offer to the powers that be to help them understand, like, hey, dark social needs to play into this?
Yeah, I mean, it for sure that's like the biggest challenge, because it is a mindset shift, and it's hard. Like, I would love to be able to say to my clients, if you put $1 in, $3 will come out the other side, and it's going to follow this pathway. This is the conversion rate at each step of the way, and we just need to spend this much money to get this many customers. But the reality is it's, actual buyer journeys jump all around, but we like things that we can attribute directly to ROI. So it does start with education and a mindset shift. And there are difficulties convincing people who are looking at those metrics sometimes to change their mindset. They just want to know, well, what is the actual ROI? I work with a lot of accountants, and that's all they want to know is, if I spend money, what is the result going to be? And it's not always so direct. What I would say, there's a couple things you can do that are pretty easy. So if you want to try to convince your whoever's above you, your client or your boss or whatever, that you should be spending more time creating demand and less time just capturing it, I would add to your contact forms an open text field that just says, how did you hear about us? And it needs to be an open field. You can't have a drop-down menu, because if it's a drop-down with options, there's a bias to the first one, or you're not going to get enough information.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, you're going to, if you have these options, some people just want to get the form filled out, and so they click the top one, whether or not that was true. So you can't trust it as much.
Or you're going to have too many, and people are going to get overwhelmed. And in that case too, the other thing that can happen, because it's happened to me, is the exact way that I was referred or heard about them isn't quite listed, or it's like between two, and then I'm like, I don't know. And then you miss, as the company, you miss like the true nature of what that is. It's a lot easier. I love that. I love that recommendation.
Do you make it a required field?
Yes.
I just want to know if you make it required. Field. Okay, because literally I'm going to my website to do this as soon as we finish here, because that feels like such a simple, actionable thing to do. Like, let's all just go do it today.
Well, okay, so I work with a lot of accountants. They all say their the source of their business is referrals and word of mouth, but they don't actually know what is the catalyst that turns into a call or like a Google search, right? Was it a conversation? Was it that they were at a conference together? Did someone mention it in a private Slack group? Did they see it on LinkedIn? Did someone forward them an email? You want to know those sorts of things, but you're really looking, it's qualitative insights rather than quantitative, but it's attributed to the actual qualified leads that you talk to. So I'm not going to get deep into it, but there a lot of the funnels that we're tracking these days, we don't actually go through all the way to the end and see how many people go through the funnel and become a customer or attribute the funnel to why they became a customer. For example, I don't mind, I appreciate a good ebook or a resource, but usually that's like step 4 of 5 in my search, not step 1.
Yeah.
And so this idea that I'm going to download an ebook and then I'm going to be nurtured by emails into a customer, that's not how I buy. And I don't think it's how most of my customers buy. I will probably watch someone on LinkedIn. I will listen to them. I'll get on their email list or something. And then I'll download the ebook. And then the next day I'm going to set up the call because I just want to see what's the proof of what they're talking about. But it's it's way further down the funnel instead of at the beginning.
Which is exactly what you're talking about with the whole idea of dark social, because if you only look at the metrics and the analytics, you would be biased toward an assumption that, people are downloading this lead gen, this PDF, this ebook, whatever, and then they're buying. Oh my gosh, this is totally working.
Look how effective
it
this
is.
Right.
When really what's happening is, like you're saying, there's all these prior steps that we don't have a window into. So with that being the case, Matt, how do we as businesses get a window into that? Like if we can't track, how do we know?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's the form field is kind of where you start. I would say the best performing content is not always the most effective content, right? So we just had Memorial Day. We could have all put on our LinkedIn some really nice pictures of flags flying and talking about how important.
With this again,
right?
Yep.
And it's going to get a lot of likes, but it's not necessarily the sort of content. It's definitely not the sort of content that's going to turn into business. And so if you just track engagement,
unless you're a flag manufacturer,
that's right. So if you're in flag manufacturing, disregard.
And then it's almost better to not post anything on that on a holiday like that, because then it's like, oh wait, they didn't post anything. What?
Right.
Imagine a day without flags.
Right. I think the number one thing is qualitative insights to begin with. So are you getting good comments on your posts? Is it resonating with people? Are you getting, in your email list, are people replying and saying that was really helpful? Because that's the kind of deep content that is actually helping move people towards a buying decision, not just the stuff that is, kind of fluffy, surface level content. So that's where I would start. It's a hard shift though.
Yeah.
It is. I think this goes back to the idea of marketing for thinking, feeling humans, right? Like not all of the insights that we gather about the effectiveness of our marketing and where our businesses are going with marketing can be nestled into a nice little spreadsheet. We really have to spend some time not crunching numbers, but reading and understanding people's motivations. And it's not something that, marketing tech like HubSpot, et cetera, can just spit out in a monthly report. So it's maybe going to take a little bit more work. But if it's something you can build into a workflow and, make part of your regular reporting, especially if you're thinking about the campaign level, it's going to be something that becomes a habit.
Yeah. Let me talk. I'll tell you what I'm doing right now and how I'm thinking about how do you make it's not the sort of thing that you can make dark social work for you. It's more that it's a thing that you need to be aware of as a marketer and be considering what's the type of stuff that's going to get into those channels? Because ultimately I believe that those are the most important channels. I get almost all of my business from other accountants because they accountants know accountants, and they talk about my business, or they're going to forward an email. And so first off, I think that it's really a lot easier when you have a defined niche to be able to like communicate in a way that's going to resonate within a tight community. So the communities we're talking about are like private Facebook groups for an industry, or like masterminds, or, you know, like I said, Slack channels or Discord or Reddit communities. Those are all kind of like direct connection places. But those communities are centered around like an identifier.
Yeah.
People think of themselves. So
Like-minded individuals.
Yeah, but it's not just like-minded, it's people who give themselves the same label. So there are no groups for professional services people. Like no one joins a professional services private Facebook group.
Nope.
But
they're tighter clusters
tighter,
than that.
Yep. And so they'll join a Facebook group for CPAs or accounting firms. So that's where I would start, is thinking about like who's a narrow audience that I'm going to be focused on. The next thing is I'm trying to create content that is helpful and useful and solving problems like in feed or like at the beginning. It's not gated. I think that a big part of this is ungating your best content, because the only way that it travels is if it's shareable.
Yeah.
And so it's posting in public. It's putting, it's not to say you should get rid of that ebook that gets them onto their email list, but I'd probably take that content and turn it into a series of LinkedIn posts as well, or into like mini videos that you can use in other places. So don't hide behind it.
I mean, we're dummies not to repurpose. I mean, why do all that upfront work and then not give yourself additional opportunities to share all of that
Right.
great information? Mm-hmm. You can always offer the full resource, mm-hmm. In the
Right.
comments or as a link in your video description. Mm-hmm. But yeah, don't hide that.
Well,
stuff
and the
away.
reality too is that by providing value to your audience, you have to think about where your audience is going when they're looking for whatever that thing that you're providing them is solving, or is going to connect with them in a more, realistic and human way. If it's an ebook, it's not going to show up when someone searches what's the best CPA. When you do a search like that, you're going to get, and just because of the way search engines are all built, whether it's Google, whether it's any of the others, is that they are weighting certain things like video content more heavily. Mm-hmm. And so those are going to be like for the moment, right? Well, that's the other big thing too, is it's like, you can't, again, we talk about a lot about how what worked 6 months, 2 years, 5 years ago isn't necessarily working today. So you've got to always be thinking about that. But like by making it a video and by making it bite size, that's going to be, you're going to cement yourself as a brand in someone's mind as helpful, which at least in my life, when people are helpful with no seeming like, I'm going to be helpful now and then later, when you're just naturally someone that wants to provide value to someone else, that sticks in your mind. You remember that. And it's important to remember for brands as you market as well, that like not everyone is ready, like Matt, you talked about earlier, not everyone's ready to make that purchase at the point where they're interacting with your brand and your content. It may be a long time. For me, that was Casper, the online mattress company. They were like one of the OG mattress companies to offer like ship it to you in a box. And like for years, I engaged with them on social and just wasn't in a place to buy a mattress yet. And then finally that day came and I was ready, and the buying cycle on that was ridiculous. I mean, in general, mattress buying cycles have to be long, right? It's not like we're out buying. I mean, most people aren't out buying new mattresses seasonally or whatever. But since that, right?
Yeah,
I know.
speak
I'm
for
sorry.
yourself, buddy.
Since that first mattress purchase, now as like life has changed and like we now have an extra guest bedroom and stuff, like I don't have to think, which mattress company is the best? They have built themselves up to be the company that I go to for that thing. And that cost them so little early on to build that brand recognition and connection so that I'm now a customer for life.
Yeah. Well, and what happens is they've created demand on social media with you. And then when you went to Google, you didn't type in memory foam mattresses.
Right.
And then look at like, what are all the options? Because there are, dozens of options.
Right.
You went in and you went to Casper.
Right.
And so the same thing is happening with our businesses, is that, Paige, when you're talking about copywriting, they're not going to Google and looking for a copywriter. They're looking for Paige Worthy, right? Like that's the goal, because inherently
That is certainly the goal.
Yeah. If you type in, accountant near me, it's inherently a competitive listing.
Yeah.
They are now comparing you to the 10 other options. So you're seen as one of many options. You're seen as a commodity. Whereas if they go there looking for your brand, you're not seen as a commodity. You're seen as a unique solution for what they're looking for.
Right.
And it's not that you need to create something new and interesting every day for 3 years. You probably have to hit on like 5 or 6 points. The way I like to think about it right now is, what are the mindset shifts that need to happen before a person is ready to buy? So, when we think about StoryBrand, someone needs to believe first that clarity is really important. If they don't believe that, they're not going to want our StoryBrand guide services. Next, they need to believe that they can't do it themselves, or they can't do it well enough. And so you come up with, what are these 5 things that we'll call it like a market qualified customer, a small business owner who has a terrible website, they need to believe 5 to 6 things before they're ready to be a customer. Those are the 5 or 6 things I'm going to try to hit again and again. And what I found is the deeper you dive into solving specific problems for a smaller group of people, the more you realize that you have to say, or the insights that you have. There are layers and layers. And so you're not coming up with new ideas every day.
Right.
It's that you're hitting the same ideas from a different angle over and over again. And that pays dividends down the road.
Yep.
It's that hub and spoke model of content creation. And it takes so much of the pressure off of you when you're not just constantly reinventing the wheel, every day. It reminds me, actually, one of our live studio attendees, Sarah Hackman, is a wonderful designer, and she does a lot of packaging design. And I've noticed on her LinkedIn a ton of really insightful posts about packaging that she spotted in the wild. It's not, it's not contrived. It's not, it doesn't feel super pre-planned, but she knows that packaging is a sweet spot for her, and she has a lot to say about it. And it's super effective. She gets really fun engagement on the posts, and she's creating an environment where people associate packaging with Sarah Hackman. And that's the kind of thing that we want for our clients. I want people, when they think of medical malpractice insurance, I want people to think of my client, Jennifer Wiggins, because she has done so much work guesting on podcasts, writing blog posts, showing up on social, talking about all of these different topics.
A big part of that for a lot of people is just overcoming that imposter syndrome. I know that was true for me. Like, as I was thinking about like, well, what content is valuable that I could share on our website and on YouTube and places like that, I was like, anything that I would say has already been said. Like, you can already search for this
not
stuff.
By you.
But exactly. And so it doesn't matter that the information already exists. Like, going back to the Casper example, it doesn't matter that there's, at least 10, if not 100 more memory foam mattress companies that can ship you a mattress. Like, my relationship with them had already been secured. And so I was looking to them for that content. Like, I don't go out and like, oh man, I love Casper's content. Let's see what all these other mattress companies, can I sign up for other newsletters? Like, they must have some great content too. So,
I'm a mattress geek now.
Right. Exactly. I'm a mattress nerd. But like, your ability to communicate content that well is so valuable to your circle of influence. It doesn't matter that it already exists. So I would encourage you, I've experienced it in our own business, like, stop telling yourself you can't do it because you shouldn't. You're missing out on really neat opportunities that you would otherwise not experience.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, let me just wrap this up talking about Dark Social by mentioning that when we have a conversation and we name drop, Sarah Hackman, go to her for design, or buy your mattress from Casper. That is Dark Social at work. Those companies, those people, they don't know that we're talking about this, but people that listen to, a podcast that they like, when you mention brands, there's nothing in it for us in those cases. That is much more trustworthy, and people are going to take that kind of conversation more to heart than if Casper served you with another ad. So, Dark Social happening right here on Hello First Name podcast.
I think it's fascinating, and I love. There's a lot of pernicious stuff happening, in the world of platforms charging us to, make a home for our marketing and, report on its effectiveness, and just being able to reclaim some of those insights for ourselves and go a little bit deeper, not by, putting our nose in a bunch of numbers, but actually coming up for a breath of air and saying like, oh, there are people up here. It's refreshing. Well, we've got a couple of people in our audience, including one Sarah Hackman, who's just getting all kinds of play on this podcast today. I'm wondering if there are any quick questions that we can tackle for our AMA, and if there aren't, David, what can you not stop thinking about?
So I can't stop thinking about a new to me TV show that is actually a show that's been around since 2020. It's a show called Home Before Dark, and it was part of the initial group of content of shows and movies that debuted with the Apple TV Plus platform. And it was a show that at the time I was like, I saw the trailer for it and I was like, man, this show looks really interesting. And I just haven't gotten around in 2 years to watching it, which is just kind of the worst, but also speaks to just how much great content we have out there now. I mean, if you look at this last week and everything that's come out just this week alone, it's ridiculous. But this show is so good. And I'm 2 parts kicking myself that I waited 2 years to watch it. And now like, I can't stop binging it. It's so good. So if you like mystery, like solve it as you go kind of television, definitely go check that out. Home Before Dark. It's awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Matt, how about you?
Well, so I'm really into my garden right now. That's sort of the thing. I have this idea that as an adult, you've got your like life stuff, you've got your, home, family stuff, work, health, whatever, the like main buckets.
Whatever.
And beyond that, you have time in your life. You've got time in your life for a major and a minor, like of other things
like
that you do with your life. And so I volunteer with a summer camp. That's my minor, and then my major in this season is gardening and the yard. And so I'm very happy with the garden that I have. It got some wood chips down. I've got potatoes and tomatoes and peppers.
Oh, you're doing veggies.
Oh yeah, veggies. Awesome. We have some nice flowers around the yard as well. And then I'll include this in the whole yard. I built myself some deck furniture.
Nice.
That I was very proud of. So I'll send some pictures, or maybe I'll post them on the episode page.
This week in the show notes, recipes from Matt's garden.
Notes.
Matt's establishing himself in
How to build
Dark Garden
deck
Social.
Furniture. Dark Garden Social. Yep.
That's awesome. That's
right,
that's my new band name. My husband and I started the 4th and final season of Stranger Things over the weekend, and before the first episode started, black screen with white words popped up, and it basically said, "We filmed this a long time ago, but we're aware that some pretty tragic events took place in Uvalde the week of its premiere, and so we want to basically put a content warning out there." The first episode is freaking brutal, and the whole season's pretty brutal so far, actually. But having that warning there, as someone who is, besides just being a thinking, feeling human, I'm pretty removed from the whole topic. Anyway, it steeled me for what was ahead, and it doesn't quite perfectly dovetail with the idea of consent in marketing, but just giving people that little buffer to take a deep breath, remember that they have a pause button on their remote. It meant a lot to me. It probably, in the grand scheme of things, didn't take them a ton of effort to add a black screen before the first episode rolled, but I think it was really meaningful. So it's those little things that brands can do to signal that they're human. Well, Matt, this was an awesome conversation. I'm still going to make fun of the term dark social, but I am also fully leaning into it. I am going to update my website form today. Anyone who's listening, you should go to my website and fill out that form. Because clearly,
but not until after you update it.
Not until after I update it. But you know what? There's like 2 other people here who are going to hear this before.
By the time you're listening to this, Paige will have updated her website.
The form is going to be lit.
Where can people find that form, Paige Worthy?
Well, you can go to my website, paigeworthy.com, but the main event is at hellofirstnamepod.com, where you can listen to all 2 of our episodes, watch our YouTube videos. You should subscribe to our YouTube channel. You should definitely subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, and you should definitely subscribe to our emails so you can find out about when new episodes go live, when we're recording next, what our upcoming topics are, and whatever else I decide to send to the list, but I promise not to abuse it. And you can leave anytime because consent is queen in our world. Until next time, I am Paige Worthy.
I'm David Hepburn.
And I'm Matt Banker.
And this has been Hello First Name, the marketing podcast for thinking, feeling humans. See you next time.